Hey guys, it's Lauren Yates from Rave here, and today we'll be chatting over Skype with Kevin Hines. Now, you may have come across his story before. At 19, he tried to commit suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. He survived and is now going around the world as a motivational speaker to raise awareness of mental health and to prevent suicide. So we'll be chatting to him all about his story and also about his new documentary movie, Suicide: The Ripple Effect, which we highly recommend checking out. It is just incredible. It'll give you goosebumps. Hi Kevin, how are you going today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Lauren?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man.
All good. Glad to be here.
Well, welcome to Rave It Up. This is your first time on the show, and I'm really grateful that you are on the show because raising awareness of suicide and depression is exactly what Rave It Up is all about as well. Like, I love showing through the stories of celebrities and successful people that everyone is not alone. First of all, there's always someone to talk to, and everyone has down days. I guess it's just the extent of those dark moments because, you know, there's always something to live for, and I'm sure you can agree with that.
100%.
So it's great that we can be on the same page from the beginning of this interview. Now, for those who don't know, your story is an emotional one. At 19, you tried to commit suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge and thankfully survived, otherwise you wouldn't be here today. But I really find it sad that you're known for something so negative and terrible. But do you believe that this kind of happened for a reason, though? Like, you survived the jump to be able to, you know, spend the rest of your life giving hope and raising awareness for something like this? Because you're really inspirational.
You know, I attempted to die by suicide from pain, and the pain came in the form of a mental illness, bipolar disorder, which, by the way, both my biological parents had before they got into drugs and alcohol that killed them. So they were really suffering mentally, and then they coped with drugs, and then my brother and I got taken away from them. My brother died. I went into foster care. I got lucky. I got taken in by a beautiful family, the Hines family, my new mom and dad, Pat and Debbie, new brother and sister from two separate families. I'm lucky that I got to have such a great life. And then it all came crashing down with depression. And it led me to go to the Golden Gate Bridge and to attempt to do what I did, to jump. And, you know, I'm sure you saw the movie. Over 2,000 people have died at that bridge. And if you calculate that is 99% of the people who have attempted in the last 80 years of that bridge being open. 1% got to live. 5 of 36, so 36 people in 80 years. 5 of them got to regain full physical mobility. 1 of 5. So there was nothing else I could have done but to reach out to people in that kind of pain all around the world, share my story, and try to help them stay here and try to help them be here tomorrow. You know, because I was given a gift of a second chance at life. You can't squander that. I can't sit on my couch eating potato chips, playing video games. I have got to try to make a dent in the universe.
Oh, there needs to be more people like you in the world. It's a blessing.
There are a lot of people like me in the world. There are a lot of people right now who are fighting so hard with their mental health and trying to give back to those in pain. You know, my wife and I, you know, we've got our Conquer Collective and this group of individuals that you saw the Australians in the film. You saw them. They are doing what I'm doing in America and around the world. They're doing it too in your neck of the woods. So we've got a lot of folks trying to help people heal.
What do you think? You know, do you even remember what you were thinking before you jumped? Was that you thought you were a bird and that everybody hated you? But why? Was there events that happened in your life around that time, or just people ignoring you?
No, it's not like that. You see, my family loved me dearly. My friends loved me as well. And my thinking that I was a burden, my thinking that I was worthless, came from inner critical thought, which we all have. If anybody has ever said anything negative about you, it's back-brained in your head. It stays there for the rest of your life, and you create a memory chain in your brain that never forgets negative, hurtful, critical things people say to you. And when those things accumulate over time, they can become dangerous. Now, for me, I had infant trauma. My infancy was very traumatic because of my biological parents being on drugs. So I had abuse and trauma since I was a kid, not physical abuse, but neglectful abuse, not being left alone as an infant, being left to cry and scream and no one to pick me up. That was my existence, being fed Kool-Aid, Coca-Cola, and sour milk is the first 9 months of my diet. Wow. I was a very sick kid. Now, if you're going to be fraught with nothing but consistent trauma since you're an infant, at some point, Lauren, something's got to give. You're going to have a hard time, a hard life. And even though Pat and Debbie Hines, my mom and dad, gave me a beautiful childhood and adolescence and young adulthood, it all came crashing down because of my brain, right? So the idea here that on that bridge, what was I thinking? I was thinking that I had to go. And not even more than that, Lauren, I was hearing auditory hallucinations, like you saw in the movie, telling me I had to die. That's terrifying for anybody. But I want to express to your viewers that I realize today that my thoughts do not have to become my actions. And it's a very important distinction. One of the things I joke about in my speeches is when I say that line and I say, how many of you would be caught in jail for road rage if all of your thoughts became your actions, right? Yeah. So, how many of us would be in trouble if all of our thoughts became our actions? Everyone raises their hand, right? So the idea that if you have suicidal thoughts and you can recognize that they don't have to own, rule, or define you, guess what? You don't have to take that action and you get to stay here. Yeah. I have chronic thoughts of suicide, Lauren, but they will never, ever take me because I will recognize that my thoughts don't have to become my actions.
It's good. Your brain has become stronger and stronger over the time. So it was more hallucinations and, less of like the angel and the devil on your shoulder before you were going to do it. It's like one saying jump and the other going, no.
No, it wasn't like that at all. That's like in a cartoon. No, it was really psychosis. I live with psychosis. I have bipolar disorder, type 1 with psychotic features. That means that I see and hear things on a regular basis that nobody else can see or hear. That means I live with paranoid delusions that make me believe people are trying to hurt me out to get me and trying to kill me. So all of these things culminating, happening at the same time, add on the thick of depression, add on a great deal of denial, add on a panic attack, heart palpitations. I was a mess. And that's what led me to do what I did. And you know what, Lauren? It was the greatest mistake I ever made. And I had an instant regret for my actions that day. Instantly upon hitting free fall, I had a regret from what I did. And I have to tell you something. Of the 26 or so remaining alive Golden Gate Bridge jump survivors, because many have died of natural causes. It's been 80 years, right? So of the 26 or so remaining alive today, 19 have come forward to say we all had the same instant regret from our actions. And those are just the ones talking about it. So now if you can recognize that, the next piece of information you need to recognize is that there are people all over the world who have attempted in means, ways of all different kinds to try to take their life. And at the moment that they try to take their life, they have that instant regret from their actions because of the separation between thought and action. There are two different pathways. You believe you have to die, but when you attempt, you go, what have I just done? Oh no, it's too late. And like I said, for 99% of the people who did it, it's been too late. It's terrible. But you know what? Have you been paying attention to the findings at the Golden Gate Bridge? Like what they're doing?
Well, a lot from the movie, thankfully, thanks to you. Yeah. Because it was funny, like the beginning of the movie, I'm like, why don't they put one of those, safety nets up? And then you answer it later and I'm like, aha.
Don't give the whole thing away. So me and my dad founded the Bridge Rail Foundation after I did what I did. And he and the Bridge Rail Foundation and Paul Muller and Dave Hall, the guys who founded it, they worked, Alexis Durat St. James, who was the philanthropic body behind funding the foundation. We worked tirelessly for 10 years to put a net on that bridge. And I'm glad to say that we're very close to that being a reality for the suicides to finally stop. Now, there are a lot of people, Lauren, that will say, won't they just go somewhere else? Well, actually, it's been proven that the Golden Gate Bridge is such a magnet for this that in fact, if they think it's possible to go to the Golden Gate Bridge and jump, they will, because they're so sick and so unwell, like I did, right? But if you put up a barrier, one of the greatest things about a suicide barrier, that, you know, there's one at the Eiffel Tower, there's one at the Bloor Street Viaduct in Canada. You know, when you put up barriers, what it says to people is, we care about you. And when people feel in the depths of pain, suffering, and insanity that people care about them and don't want them to die, what they recognize in that moment is that, oh my gosh, I do have value. I am important. I do matter. And when they can recognize that they matter, once again, they can choose to stay here.
So what feelings do you have now when you look at the Golden Gate Bridge?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a story that didn't make it into the film, which I really regret that it didn't, but I'm going to tell it to you. My father called me at City College the year to the date of the anniversary after my attempt. He calls me and he says, Kevin, we're going for a drive. I said, Dad, come on, where are we going? And my dad's a tough SOB. He goes, we're going for a drive. So we're driving down 19th Avenue, right? 19th Avenue in San Francisco is a thoroughfare. It goes to Park Presidio Avenue, right to the Golden Gate. I remember, I was like, Dad, I don't want to do this. It was the year to the date of my attempt, at the timing of my attempt. And he said, Kevin, we're doing this. He pulls over. There's a flower bed of tulips, purple tulips, yellow inside. The flower bed is in the police officers union building area. There's police officers in their top blue brass, you know, up there in the windows. There's police bikes, police cars, and my dad goes, pick a flower. I said, Dad, I'm not picking a flower in San Francisco. You pick a flower in San Francisco, you get a fine or you get arrested, which is true, by the way.
Oh, didn't know that.
It's a particular flower, you're in trouble. So he says, pick a damn flower. I go grab the flower. We go to the Golden Gate. We're at the parking lot. And I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go out there. I don't want to go anywhere near this thing. I'm queasy. I'm nauseous. My dad brings me out there. He says, Kevin, show me where. I found the exact light rail where it happened. And my father he took his right hand and grabbed my left. We said in Our Father, and he said, drop the flower. I dropped the flower. It wafted down very slowly. It hit the water. It made the tiniest of ripple effects. And 2 feet to the right, Lauren, popped up a sea lion. It was the most beautiful moment I have ever shared with my dad, besides marrying my wife and him being the best man. And it's the most beautiful moment, Lauren, because as you know from the movie, in the water when I failed to stay afloat, and after I jumped and I couldn't stay afloat, I kept going down. A sea lion came to my aid to help keep me afloat that day. And if that sea lion hadn't been there when it was, I would not be here, period. And people have discounted that as some kind of hallucination. But we recently, Channel 7 News here I'm in Atlanta, but here in San Francisco, Channel 7 News did an investigative journalistic piece on this story, okay? And what they found out was that a man had written into me via ABC, via a TV show I was on, and said there was a sea lion beneath me keeping me afloat. Well, 2 other people went to the Golden Gate Bridge Coast Guard office that very day that I attempted and reported the exact thing.
Wow.
And we found that out just recently. So I'm lucky to be here, Lauren. I'm lucky to be anywhere.
That's so beautiful. Why didn't that make the movie? That would have been just like the perfect icing to the cake.
Oh, editing.
Yeah, they needed to cut it down to an hour and a half. Wow. And in a way, it's like you're putting the flower down and it's like, you know, saying goodbye to the old you, in a way.
Yes, closure.
Yeah.
Closure, yeah.
So your dad did a very smart thing.
He's a very smart man.
Yeah. I'm the biggest believer that everything happens for a reason too. So for you to survive that jump, which is 25 stories high and the most used suicide site in the US, every 7 to 10 days you said in the movie, someone tries to kill themselves off that.
Every 7 to 10 days, and sometimes even sooner than that, yeah.
Wow. So just your story, just alone, is touching and life-changing enough. So really grateful that you're sharing this with us today. Across the globe, nearly 1 million people die annually by suicide. So why do you think that the suicide rates just keep rising every single year? You think social media is a big factor of that?
I think more so than social media, society is a factor of that.
Yes.
We live in a society today, not just in America, not just in Australia, around the world, where brain pain is not accepted as real. So what's happening and what's been happening since the dawn of depression and mental pain is that people have been marginalized, they've been put down, they've been shamed, they've been discriminated against, they've lost rights, and they've been pushed aside. They've been a society cast aside by the rest of society. And what we have here is a group of people on the left who believe that mental illness is real and that it should be treated. You have the people on the other side who say it's not legitimate and it's all in your head. You have the people in the middle who suffer mentally, who are going both ways, with people saying what they should or shouldn't believe in, and they're suffering so terribly. And they've got this group over here saying it's not real. They've got this group over here saying we've got your back. And there's this massive conflict internally. And what happens with the individual suffering is they live through a great amount of denial. I don't have this disease. I don't have this problem. I don't want to be labeled mentally ill. And with all of this coming together in society, we become the forgotten. And when we become the forgotten, we end up homeless on the street talking to ourselves, to imaginary people, hallucinations and delusions. And it's a terrifying reality. We have to change society to change the numbers of suicide attempts in this world. Until and when we do that, it's not going to change. Until and when we realize that every doctor, from your dentist to your psychiatrist to your ophthalmologist, should be looking at you if you're looking sad or depressed, and they should ask the question, are you considering suicide? Have you ever made any plans? The illusion is that will put the thought in someone's mind, not if they're not already thinking about it. If they're not thinking about it, you're not going to put the thought in their mind. They're going to look at you sideways and go, get away from me. Yeah. But if they are thinking about it, you've just opened a doorway, a pathway to hope. And if someone who is hopeless can find a glimmer of light at the end of their tunnel, they can be here tomorrow.
So, Kevin, in your opinion, how do you know if someone is thinking of committing suicide? Like, how can we help stop this before it is too late?
You know, I met a woman last night at my speech who stated that she saw no signs. And this is happening more and more often. We're seeing people that are so good at hiding their pain, like I did, that we're not catching the signs. But even when you think there are no signs, it's time to dig deeper. You know, were they eating properly? I had stopped eating very much. I had stopped sleeping. I was jittery. I was stuttering. All of my behaviors had changed. I gave away prized possessions. I did all of these things, and in school I would talk about not wanting to be here anymore, not liking life anymore. Very indicative signs of suicidal crisis. So we have to look out for these signs, but we also have to be aware that there are people that hide it so well it's hard to find. Now, in that situation, when you don't know that it's a possibility, what we have to do is proactively talk about suicide. We have to take the power away from the word in any familial setting, right? Any friend setting. And we have to be able to say to our buddies, to our pals, to our significant others, to our mom and dad, to our brother and our sister, to our kids, hey, let's have the talk. And if you have the talk in your family before anyone ever attempts, more than likely, they're not going to. They're going to come to you and tell you that, hey, we had that talk 3 years ago about if I ever thought this way, I would come to you and tell you the truth. So you have to be preemptive and proactive, and not just after the fact. You have to actually, if you want to prevent, you have to work toward that prevention by having the conversation about suicide without fear. And to do that, you have to educate yourself as to the nature of suicide, reading books like Why People Die by Suicide by Dr. Thomas Joyner. Or if you have someone you love who has bipolar disorder, but you don't believe it's real, go get Julie A. Fast's book, Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder, so you can learn how to take care of that person, right? So you can learn how to be empathetic to that person as opposed to judgmental and alienating them.
So we've got to save it before it's too late. Like, was it a couple of years ago, my neighbour, 16, he committed suicide, and there was absolutely no signs. And for us all to think, wow, 16, like he still had a whole life ahead of him. And a lot of that was because of social media, so that's why I thought I'd ask.
cyberbullying is 60% more likely to be damaging to someone who is considering suicide than actual physical bullying. I mean, it's monumental. 60%. That's out of control. So to all you kids out there watching this show, listen to me. We are not here to hurt each other's words online or otherwise. We're here to pick each other up when we're down. We're here to make sure that the person in pain has someone that puts their arm around their shoulder and says, I got their back. We are not here to hurt each other. Our sole purpose here on this planet is to do one thing. It's to give. And if you're not doing that, and if you don't see beauty in the next person you meet, you're not looking hard enough. It's funny, Lauren, a lot of people, and I don't want to be rude and correct you, but I want to share something with you. Yeah. You've said committed twice now. You said committed suicide. We say in the suicide prevention world, died by suicide. So that, and this is a learning moment for us. We say died by suicide because committed sounds like a crime, an act that you would do to hurt somebody else. People think suicidal people are selfish. They are not selfish. To be selfish, Lauren, you have to know you're hurting other people. The people who die by suicide are in so much epic pain, they believe they have to die. I believed I had to die. Lauren, I didn't know I was wrong. I didn't know that my family loved me. I didn't know that I didn't know I had worth. I didn't know I had value, but I never committed. I attempted to die by suicide because of pain. And I want you to think about something. I want your listeners to think about something. If you find yourself in the most vicious, excruciating, physical pain you have ever experienced, Lauren, what do you want that pain to do?
To leave, just to release.
To stop, right?
Yeah.
You want the pain to stop. So it's the same thing for brain pain, except it leads to suicide. It's 10,000 times worse. Because
there is no tomorrow when you do that.
I want people to learn from this film. I want them to learn from Suicide: The Ripple Effect that A, their thoughts don't have to become their actions, but I also want them to learn to never again silence their pain. No matter how tough you are in this world, no matter how bold or how big or how strong, everybody has issues, and everybody feels pain. But don't silence your pain because you feel you're going to burden people with it. Tell the truth about your pain so you can unburden your soul.
Ooh, that was good. That was a good line. I like that. Gotta remember that for later. Now, in case people don't know, the movie we are talking about is Suicide: The Ripple Effect. And there is a Q&A premiere screening in Sydney on Friday the 9th of March. I highly recommend everyone going to check it out because it's a fantastic film. I really learned a lot from it. The something that blew me away was that you said from one death by suicide, minimum 115 people are affected. Did that blow you away when you were interviewing all those people for the movie?
The founders of suicide prevention, Edwin Snyman and Norman Farborough, 60, 70 years ago, they determined in their minds and in their research that for every one death by suicide, there were 6 people that were directly affected. We live in a world right now, for every one person that dies by suicide, 115 plus are directly or indirectly affected. This means that there are so many people that were connected to that individual. Now you multiply that by social media followers and people who think they care about someone or call a friend, and it is exponential. And then you have to recognize that if one person dies in this era, and then they have kids, and the kids don't know that they were suicidal, and then the kids grow up and they find out their dad, it's in the film, they find out their dad died this way. Then they grieve the dad in a different way. Then they tell their kids, and it just goes on and on and on. And the ripple effect crosses time. It crosses time, and it becomes incalculable for every one person that dies by suicide.
Yeah, so just add that up with everybody the 1 million that die by suicide annually. Like, can't even do that maths. Now, unfortunately, you won't be at the premiere in Sydney, which is so sad to hear, but that's alright. But you do have some incredible guest panel appearances. So, can you tell us about some of these? Did you choose all these people yourself?
Yeah, so we went out to Australia to make Australia a big part of our film, Suicide: The Ripple Effect. So remember, Australians who are watching this, you're a big part of this film, and I love Australia so much. I've had such a good time.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
and meeting these Australians: Lauren Kate Green, Joe Williams, Ben Higgs, Pat Lawson, William Stubbs, Steph Caminiti, Clavey, Sam Webb, Casey Lyons of Livin, Maddie Runnels. I can go on and on and on and on. Who am I missing, Margaret? Joel Murchie is a phenomenal guy in Australia doing great work for mental health. So GVB, Greg Van Borsum, these guys, most of them are going to be at the panel. They are advocates in your Australia. They are working so hard for mental health every day. They're doing such good work. They're in the film. They're beautiful people. Rebecca Lewis, formerly of Are You OK, is in it. It's been so exciting to get to learn about Australian culture, get to learn about Aboriginal Australian culture through Joe Williams. It's been a real gift to get to meet these amazing advocates, learn their stories of triumph over adversity, and be inspired by each of them every single day.
And Kevin, even though you've already achieved so much, what else can we expect from you in the future?
So this has been under wraps for a while, but we are already working on our next film. I can't tell you much more than that. I've got in the works right now potentially a live action film with actors about my life story. I've got right now inner workings on a television show to promote hope and healing and work with people that are from all around the world who are suffering mentally, and we're going to go and try to help them find some hope in person in real time. So we got lots of great stuff going on, and I've got quite literally a backlog of books I'm writing that are coming out in the next 3 to 5 years. Whoa,
jeez, you're very busy. How do you have time to even sleep? Like, it amazes me.
I sleep, I exercise every day, I take care of myself.
Good. Well, we're really looking forward to all those projects. You've got some amazing ones coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah, but for now, everyone's got to go check out Suicide: The Ripple Effect, because that's your latest project. And
listen, if you want to bring Suicide: The Ripple Effect to your community, go to suicidetherippleeffect.com, click on host a screening. If you're international or in Australia, there's a whole litany of information you can take to get started. If you're in America, there's a great deal of information to do it there as well. You can host a screening in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods, at a major theater near you, at no cost to you, and you can even make it a charity or you can make it a fundraiser for your charity. Mm-hmm. So remember, we're trying to give back to this film. We're trying to make sure that through this film, we raise a lot of money for different organizations that can also do a great deal of helping other people find hope.
Absolutely. Let's try to get it in all the big cinemas all around Australia.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
It happened.
And Kevin, would you have any advice for the listeners who might want to follow their dreams of becoming a motivational speaker or a mental health advocate?
Absolutely. If you want to do that and that's your goal, here's my suggestion, okay? It's very, very simple. Never quit. If you have a vision, you can fail 1,000 times in that vision. And if you succeed one time, you've won the game and you've won the match. So if you have this vision to A, become a filmmaker, B, be a motivational speaker, C, write a book, D, all of the above, never quit. Mm-hmm. Keep fighting for it. Keep making that vision into a reality. I don't believe in dreams, Lauren. I believe in visions turned into reality.
Yeah.
Because a dream means I'm asleep, not getting stuff done.
Yeah, that's true. Got to make it all into reality. Like, just look at both of us, just working really hard and just kind of keeping in the race.
Exactly. One day at a time, baby steps.
Absolutely. We are unfortunately getting to the end of the interview. It's been very informational and I loved every second of it. But as a closing statement, and was probably the most important question, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 14-year-old self?
I would just put my hand on his shoulder and let him know that he's got more life to live and that it doesn't have to end this way. And I'd let him know all the things that he would miss. Number one on that list, the love of his life, Margaret Hines.
Yeah.
He would have missed out. He would have missed out on the love of his life and a transition into hope that he would never let die.
Well, I hope Margaret is listening. That was so beautiful. Now, before we go, if the listeners would like to contact you or find out what you're up to, where should they go? Obviously, KevinHinesStory.com.
Easy. KevinHinesStory.com, at Kevin Hines Story on Instagram and Twitter, at The Effect Film on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find me. I'm out there. Reach out.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Good. You're on everything. It's easy enough to find you. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Kevin. I really appreciate your time and love to have you on again in the future. So when you come to Sydney again, let me know.
I promise I will. Nice to meet you, Lauren.
And hopefully in the future we can team up for other projects to raise awareness of suicide and mental health.
I would love that. That'd be awesome.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's interview and learnt a lot like we did. And if you'd like to check out any of our other interviews, you can visit our website, raveituptv.com. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.